Hello and welcome to the Full On Football podcast. Harry, I want to talk about West Ham this week. Just quickly going, I'm forever blowing bubbles and all of that. 1-0 win against Tottenham on the weekend. And really, I wanted to make tonight's show all about them. And they're a fantastic side, and I think every chance making a top four this season. Unfortunately, due to a side in the Northwest conceding 5 goals at home on the weekend, we are forced to talk about them this week. Harry, take it away. Tell me about Everton.
Yeah, Rafa Benitez is a fraud. He's doing his best to destroy Everton. He come in sort of 15, 16 years ago to do exactly that, and he's achieving it. But
it's an inside job, isn't it? It's an inside job. He's still on the payroll at Liverpool, I heard.
Yeah, he must be, mate. He made a point, didn't he, that Everton are a small club, and he's proven that, with his performances. Good luck to him.
But absolutely, in seriousness, mate, what I've got to say is I would love to talk about West Ham, and they really do deserve to be spoke about on an episode, and we will do one about them real soon. Awesome side, Soucek, Rice, Antonio. They got some really good players, Jared Bowen, Fabianski, really good players at West Ham. I'd love to talk about them in more detail, but tonight has to be about the 5-0 defeat at Old Trafford. So looking at it from both perspectives, really, and talking about the game. And mate, I just got to start off, and I've got to put it straight to you. Obviously, I'm Liverpool. I'm Liverpool. Bristol City, Liverpool. What are Man United trying to
do? Good question. I have absolutely no idea. I watched them every week. I haven't really known what they were trying to do for a long time. I think initially playing on the counter-attack was the plan, but as the team has improved over the last 3 years in terms of the personnel, they've tried moving away from that, and it hasn't quite worked. And I think they've sort of been forced to go that way. The fact that they've improved players like Jones and Smalling with Maguire and Varane, I think they just simply have to progress into sort of a top team style in trying to dominate the ball, and they just simply cannot do it. I said it all the time. I think they look massively undercoached, lack of a clear plan. That lack of a plan, the lack of clarity breeds indecision and half-hearted decision-making, panicking, doing things, desperation. I think desperation was the word that came out of yesterday, especially the first half. Everything was desperate. And those desperate decisions from that first goal, from Greenwood, from Wan-Bissaka, from Maguire, even the second goal, it's these half-hearted decision-making, not knowing their job, that breeds these mistakes. As bad as Maguire was, it was that.
So that comes to what you're saying there about indecision and not knowing your jobs and not knowing what people do. Roy Keane always says, you've got to know your job. Do you know what I mean? He's only doing his job, but nobody knows their fucking job. It's embarrassing at times, honestly. Looking at it, and you're talking about something you mentioned there, the pressing on the first goal. To me, it's completely obvious. Are they pressing or are they not pressing? They're doing neither. Do you know what I mean? Mason Greenwood, if you're going to press. Do it at full pace, full tilt. If you get a skinned, you get a skinned. Wan-Bissaka, for me, is at fault for that goal. The biggest part of the fault for that goal is Wan-Bissaka. The moment he committed to Robertson, the goal was, the overlaps on the other side, it was obvious. If he'd have just not what was Robertson going to do? It's not like he was causing a massive issue, was it? Until he committed. Just naivety, but like you said, probably breeds from the management. Where do you stand?
Yeah, it does, mate, 100%. Wan-Bissaka is, he's a very good right back, 1v1. Probably one of the best there is in Europe. Decision-making and positional play has been a problem for a long time. It's not a new thing. That was evident at the weekend, but I can't think it comes down to the fact that Wan-Bissaka doesn't know how to play in a back four. It doesn't stem from the fact that he doesn't know what he's doing. It stems from the lack of clarity as to what his job is, what he is meant to be doing, and reacting to what other people do. It is not because he doesn't know how to play right back. It can't be. It's impossible in my head to comprehend a player that has played in a back four their entire life at a professional level, that's paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, that cannot simply follow instruction. It must be the lack of instruction, the lack of clarity, the lack of coaching. I say they look undercoached. They look. I compare them to Liverpool. Konate's come in, first away game I think he's played for Liverpool, playing at Old Trafford. Although last season they won there, I think the last sort of 4 or 5 years, Liverpool have struggled at Old Trafford. It's a tough place to go. Konate knows his job inside out, despite the fact it's his first ever away game. Which bloody blade of grass he has to be stood at. Where he's given the ball every time. where he needs to be at certain points, where he needs to be from set pieces, where he needs to be when Trent has a ball, when Rob has a ball, when Van Dijk has a ball, when Henderson has a ball. Everyone knows their role. No one's having to go at anyone about where they should be stood like Bruno Fernandes does, like Ronaldo does, because they all know their role, and that is all from the coaching staff and the manager.
So the team sheet came out yesterday, and I can't help but I was looking at it from a Man United perspective, and it's exactly the same side as I'd have picked. So who knows? I might have got walloped 5-0 as well. But I would have liked to have thought my side might have thought a bit differently and played differently, out of the ball, out of possession rather. But McTominay and Fred, I want to talk about those two particularly, because I've made a big song and dance over the last few weeks about the fact that Pogba can't play in that side in one of the deep line roles in the 4-2-3-1. You can't trust him off the ball, and ultimately he'll let you down. And do you know what, mate? McTominay and Fred, pre-kickoff, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that's the right move. And obviously, they played it against Atlanta. They were 2-0 down. I put that down to a bad day at the office, whatever. You won 3-2. The feel-good factor's back. Then I'm at half-time, 4-0. I am sat there and I'm thinking, well, Pogba's not the answer, by the way. I'm telling you now. I'm telling, and I will come on to this. I've got a lot to say about Paul Pogba, but Pogba is not the answer. But ultimately, you're 4-0 down playing a solid base in Fred and McTominay, so that hasn't worked either. So you might as well just go with a ball player and Pogba and try and gain a little bit more control in midfield. Talk to me about the midfield issue. How does it get resolved? And what I want to ask you, what has Donny van der Beek does? Does he not train?
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, draws a bit of the wall. I don't know, mate. I every time he's played, he looks like a player. I've seen him a lot at Ajax. He looks like a player. Doesn't even get a sniff from the bench. He's played 5 minutes of Premier League football this season. He watches Fred and McTominay do the same role. So we spoke about it earlier. Fred and McTominay do the same things Declan Rice does on his own, but do it worse. Like it's incomprehensible that two people doing the same job can do it worse than a 21-year-old at West Ham, and that's what we're talking about. I don't know, mate. I don't know what they've done. I think Fred's got a bit of dirt on Ollie. A part of me thinks there must be, I said to you earlier, there must be players in there. I think with McTominay being a youth graduate from the academy helps in his favour. Fred obviously costs a lot of money. As bad as they are, and as frustrating as they are, I feel like, do you think Fred, slotted into the Liverpool side, he'd probably do all right? McTominay slotted in?
Well, we spoke about this earlier. It comes down to the management and the system again. You can't help but feel like if either of those two play for Liverpool, they'd know their job at the end of the day, and maybe they would, and then therefore it's a totally different matter because Liverpool plays as a team and Man United players a bunch of collected individuals. And one of the biggest culprits of that is Paul Pogba for me. Paul Pogba's not a team player. And I think yesterday from Paul Pogba, I think that was the worst 15-minute performance I think I've ever seen. It was an utter disgrace. And I think Paul Pogba should be held accountable for his performance yesterday because I thought he let the club down. And the reason I thought he let the club down, as I was mentioning earlier about Fred and McTominay, I'd have gone with Fred and McTominay because I don't trust Pogba and I feel like he cheats in midfield, is imbalanced, having him in there. He'll let you down. He'll cost you a goal. I'm at 4-0 at half-time and I'm thinking, do you know what? You might as well just go with Pogba because he's good on the ball. He might control a bit of the ball. He might produce a bit of magic. Ultimately, you're 4-0 down without him. So that's what's going through my head. They bring him on at half-time and they go diamond in midfield. So there's 4 midfielders in the centre. And I thought it's probably the right thing to do. I'd have done the same thing, congest the midfield, helping Paul Pogba to play. And he's come on. And by the way, the 5th goal for Liverpool was entirely Paul Pogba's fault. Dawdling on the ball. I'm not sure what he was trying to achieve there, by the way. It's not like he was trying to beat a man and set up a goal. He was just dawdling on the halfway line on the ball.
Well, risk v reward. What the best thing that could have happened was that he beat the 2 players and then was into the next midfielder. That's the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, it was no
risk. The risk was Jordan Henderson went off him and playing an unbelievable ball, by the way, out to SALAH. Incredible ball. But yeah, what was the best thing that could happen was that he beat 2 players and then passed it 5 yards to someone else. Nothing good could really have come of it, and that sums the guy up.
And that is why he's not in the side, and he has no complaints about that. So like I said, at halftime 4-0, I'm thinking, well, if I'm Paul Pogba, I'm sat there and I'm thinking, we're 4-0 down, we're not going to come back, but I've got an opportunity here to make the statement and make the case for why I'll never be on the bench for another game of football again. because you've left me out and you're 4-0 down. You left me out the other day and you were 2-0 down at half-time. I'm going to come on. I'm going to change the game. Not going to change it and win, but you might lose 4-1. You might win the second half 1-0. I'm going to come on. I'm going to make an impact. Make an impact. Didn't he ever? Bloody hell. Make an impact. He did. That's one thing he did do. Came on, like I said, gave the ball away for the goal, was anonymous for most of the 15 minutes he was on the pitch. And as for the tackle on Naby Keita, what was he doing? It's not just was it a red card? Was it not a red card? I'm not interested in that. What I'm asking you is, what was he, again, that tackle, it was Paul Gascoigne-esque. What was he achieving by making it? It was on the edge of the penalty area from a corner. You know, what was he achieving from that? Like I said, if he makes that tackle trying to block a shot on goal, I get it. I'll back him. I'll back him for that. What's he achieved?
I think he's just over. I can't really accuse Paul Pogba of being over enthusiastic, but I guess that's the only thing I can really put it down to.
Over enthusiastic.
The thing is, you're right and absolutely right. It was a nothing tackle. It would have been very difficult, even if he'd have won it. It would have been very difficult for anything to have come of it. But I guess being in that situation, in theory, you win the ball back, you're a pass away from having a shot on goal, perhaps. But yeah, in terms of the execution, he's got it wrong. I thought he was better lucky, but yeah, you're right. Well, it's like when you see Granit Xhaka go for the back of someone on the halfway line, facing the other way, and get sent off. You just think, well, the best thing that could have happened was that you gave away a foul without getting carded. The best thing that could have happened. And with that, again, risk-free reward, the best thing that could have happened was that he put in the tackle of his life and won the ball back.
And that's it. You win the ball back for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'll take your point, mate. And ultimately, he's thrown United under the bus. The best thing I could say is that Liverpool have pitted United after that and haven't gone through the juggling, just passed the ball around for the next 30 minutes, which to me, I was fuming about. Even from mine, I was fuming. I was like, who do they think they are? Dick him round with it. Go for the throw. You will not get an opportunity to do this again, probably. Van Dijk in his career probably never get a chance to do it. Go for the throw. Obviously, they could have got injured. Sensible thing to do. But the best thing that happened really was Pogba get sent off. United actually defended properly with numbers in a decent enough shape.
Yeah. The next thing I want to talk about, though, is obviously Fernandes had the first chance of the game, 3rd minute, should have took it, would have put Man United 1-0 up. Liverpool go straight down the other end 2 minutes later and take their chance. And Liverpool were clinical on the day. There's no doubt about that. And what you actually made of Man United's performance in the game, I guess. Did anybody come out with any sort of credit from the game yesterday?
I thought Rashford huffed and puffed. I thought he tried. I thought he tried his best, to be honest. Ronaldo starved the service. People slate him on social media and all this. And I thought he didn't get the ball. I thought
do you think it'd been
were poor?
Would have it been a different game? Would have it been a different game had they gone 1-0 up?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it would have been, mate. I think the place would have been bouncing. I think the energy would have come in, probably settled a few nerves, which were clear. It could have easily been 5-1, 6-1. I'm not saying it wouldn't. I don't think it would have been. I think it would have been one of those games. I find United's record at Old Trafford when we take the lead is exceptional. We haven't lost whilst winning at half-time in the league for about 37 years, and I don't think it could have been ended yesterday. But I don't think it would have been. I think it would have been a different game. Having said that, it proves that it would have just very much papered over the cracks and we'd have been on momentum, because the fact that didn't go in, and I think that was really, the last real time that we were in the game.
Well, you talked about Ronaldo and people giving Ronaldo a bit of flack. Now, I actually think that's somewhat unfair. Ronaldo took his only real chance of the game. He was isolated all game long. And the biggest bugbear for me is play to his strengths. You've got one of the best headers of the football, attacking headers of the football in history, and you're not getting crosses in the box. There should be a minimum of 10 crosses a game going in. A minimum. If he was playing for Liverpool, he'd score goals. Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, they'd be whipping balls in all game long. So why aren't Man United doing that?
I've absolutely no idea. I don't. You wouldn't want it to get too Sam Allardyce and one-dimensional of getting balls forward. But I take your point that ultimately, when you've got a left-footed winger playing on the right and a right-footed winger playing on the left, it doesn't lend itself to getting balls in the box. And obviously, a player like Ronaldo, you need to. He's not going to run the channels. He's not going to be a big, strong centre forward on the ball. I don't actually think his hold-up play is that good. I think he quite often loses it when they play it into his feet. If there's someone up, someone tight, it doesn't always stick. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. I thought he was isolated. I thought he was starved of any quality. When they did get the ball to him, it was off the behind him. It was lazy. He was isolated. When he did get it, he didn't really have anyone to bounce the ball off, and it was just, he was only able to dry in a bit of a scapegoat. Admittedly, he's Ronaldo. I guess he can take it on the chin because he is Ronaldo, but I don't think he really did anything wrong.
No, I don't want to dig too many players out because we could. How many players would I have to dig out? I'd lose count. But obviously, David De Gea done okay as well. I don't think he'd done anything wrong. But Harry Maguire yesterday, he's captain, so he's got to face up to it. And I thought, in terms of leadership, I thought he shrunk yesterday. I thought it was actually, it was really bad to watch, really worrying to watch. I didn't think he fancied it at all. Just want a final point on Man United before we move it on, mate, because we've got to concentrate on the goods of the derby and actually talk about Liverpool and how good they were. But you've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you've got Carrick, you've got Darren Fletcher, and they're all learning on the job. And obviously you've got like a nucleus. You've not just got a manager, you've got the back team as well, yeah? You've got quite a few of them there that are all learning on the job. Firstly, do you think that's okay? And secondly, where do Man United go from here?
It's not okay. I've said this for two years now that Ollie's learning on the job and it doesn't feel right. Added to that, like you said, Michael Carrick has come out in the press the last few weeks that the players aren't happy with the training. Don't think it's very good. Don't think it's very intuitive. It sort of lends itself to what I've been saying about him being undercoached. People learning on the job at top clubs like Darren Fletcher, who said come in, was he director of football, something like that sort of role. I'm not knocking Darren Fletcher. I liked him as a player. I think there's a reason why at Man City you haven't got Sean Goater and Joe Hart as the
Paul Dickov, yeah.
Paul Dickov, and at Liverpool you haven't got Lucas Leiva, and Sammy Hippier and whoever else that may be, Bruce Groveler, as the people making the big decisions at the club. It is a very specialist role. It's a big thing. So when you've got everyone learning on the job, I know Karen alluded to it yesterday on the football, when you've got a lot of people learning on the job, it is worrying. And I do think Ollie, perhaps with top coaches around him, and doesn't have to do the coaching, and the coaching's done to an elite level, I'm sure it would do him the world of good. Unfortunately, he hasn't got that, and he has to face up to what has been, a club starved of, a team starved of ideas. Looks undercoached, underworked, no style, and the buck has to stop with him.
Undercoached, underworked, no style. This is full on football.
Liverpool yesterday weren't that good. They really weren't that good. I watched them play a few times this season, probably 6 times. On 4 of those occasions, they were much better than they were against United. Much better.
The scary thing about that statement is controversial as anything, but you're absolutely right. Liverpool weren't even at their best yesterday. Don't get me wrong. They didn't play badly, did they? They were good. They weren't at their best. There's more gears in terms of the fluidity of their play, in terms of the passing, in terms of domination of the ball. You think about when they were 2-0 up and they let Man United back in to a certain degree. They let Man United put their foot on the ball. Liverpool at their best don't let them do that. But what Liverpool were yesterday were 10 out of 10 in terms of how clinical they were. They barely missed a chance all game. They took every chance. And that's one thing where you can't fault them. That is as clinical a side I've ever seen yesterday.
Yeah, superb. And I felt like for a period, to be honest, until sort of half time, I never thought they were in control. And that seems true. They were obviously massively in charge of the game, but they didn't have that grip of the ball that you see with them. They were quite sloppy at times, giving the ball away. Let United into good positions, but then defended well, where United lacked so much quality. May not got into a lot of good areas in the first half about it register into a chance for a goal. It comes down to Liverpool's great defending and lack of sharpness from United's point of view, but they gave United a lot of impetus to say, go on, it could have easily gone a different way. And the games I've seen them a lot, in the last sort of 2 or 3 years. They don't give teams a sniff, and they did really for large periods. But luckily, you're 4-0 up, so it didn't matter who.
That's the funny thing. Come half time, if the actual balance of the play and the territory, you associate Liverpool now, other than when they play against probably Man City, and that's probably the only side that they wouldn't. You associate them with having sort of 65, 70% of the ball. The two centre backs on the halfway line, the full backs pushed forward, Fabinho possibly dropping in to make a back three, complete controlled possession to the point where the opposition quite often stop pressing because they're just simply not going to get the ball. They just get back into shape and defend. And that's what you associate Liverpool with. We didn't see so much of that in the first half. Of course, we did see it after Man United went down to 10 men. But in the first half, you're absolutely right. But as I said, they were clinical, mate. They took every chance. You look at Salah's second goal. What a strike that is on the volley. Bit of luck to create the chance, but didn't he take it?
Yeah, superb. Absolutely superb. Again, though, was Mo that good, really?
Well, that's the scary thing, mate. Mo Salah scored a hat-trick yesterday. Magical Mo, I'll call him. Magical Mo Causes Madness in Manchester is obviously the episode title. And he wasn't even, all the goals he scored. The first one's about desire. The second one's a clinical strike. And the third one, let's be honest, he probably overran it, to be honest. But he's come away from Old Trafford, scoring a hat-trick. And the last person to do that? I can't remember anybody doing that, to be honest. Stevie G missed his penalty for the hat-trick, didn't he, going back a long time ago?
I think that's the first hat-trick from an opposition player at Old Trafford in the Premier League.
Wow. That's a
massive...
massive...
been a couple. I think Dirk Kuyt scored a hat-trick at Anfield, didn't he, a few years ago?
That's right.
Hat-trick at Tappins. David Bentley scored a hat-trick against United a few years back, but there aren't many. There really aren't many.
So I want to talk, obviously, Liverpool yesterday, outstanding, 5-0 when you can't ask for anything better. But there is an element of, you were even left feeling as a Man United fan, Liverpool could have gone for the throat and got more. Liverpool took their foot off the gas with 35 minutes to go. That's over a third of the game to go. They took their foot off the gas. It was very much a decision from Liverpool. I do believe that. They decided that 5 was enough. We'll just control the game from here on in. What do you make of that? Do you think that's true? Do you think that's unfair?
No, I think it's right. I don't really remember a chance after that they had. So I do think they took their foot off the gas. I don't know why. Well, it's easy to say that. If someone had got injured, obviously Kate did get injured, Pogba's tackle. But for me, you don't get opportunities like that. I would have, wanted to go for the throat, give a couple of the young lads maybe impetus, bring on someone like Origi. I don't know if he was on the bench, and if he was fit. Obviously, Mane only come on quite late on. I would have wanted to go 6, 7, 8. It could have easily been 8. I think at the 5-0, I could see it sort of fading the way it did. Probably not as much as it did, but I could see it sort of fading. But Christ, I'd have been going for the throat. You don't get opportunities like that. You imagine 7-0 at Old Trafford, Man United Liverpool. Wow.
It would be unbelievable. And obviously, Mo Salah get all the plaudits, and rightly so. And we could talk about Mo Salah all day. He's an awesome player. And is he the best player in the world right now? That is a debatable one, but probably yes. Probably at this moment right now on current form, he probably is. But a player that probably doesn't get the plaudits, despite getting all the hype a couple of years ago on the back of the player of the season and all of these types of things. He's gone from being completely underappreciated to then everybody jumping on the bandwagon and actually coming round to the idea after 10 years that he is a good footballer, to suddenly being underappreciated, not being in people's England sides. I want to talk about Jordan Henderson. And the reason I want to talk about Jordan Henderson is week in, week out, that boy is a consistent performer. He's one of Liverpool's best players. He was outstanding again on Sunday. The pass for Mo Salah's third goal was outstanding. The energy he brought. And there was a moment in the second half, Liverpool are 5-0 up. Oxlade-Chamberlain come on. And he played like a 1-2 with Jordan Henderson. But as he was coming towards the ball, he didn't come fast enough. It wasn't intense enough. Didn't cause a problem, mind. They didn't lose the ball. Jordan Henderson absolutely bollocked him. Absolutely bollocked him for everyone to see. That is the demands that he puts on that Liverpool side. That is the leadership that he brings to the side. Comparing him to a Paul Pogba, bringing it back to Pogba again, the amount of people that I saw putting Paul Pogba in their combined 11s, it's a disgrace. I would pick Jordan Henderson over Paul Pogba every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. No contest as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, absolutely. I thought Jordan Henderson was actually Liverpool's best player yesterday and the day before, really. The week before, against Watford, when Firmino had a hat-trick. I thought Henderson was the best player on the day. Superb. What a leader. What a captain. Probably, in terms of the modern day captain, he's as good as you can get, in my opinion. Paul Pogba shouldn't, wouldn't make the bench for Liverpool. I don't think Klopp would have him.
Huge statement.
Well, do you know what I mean? Once about that, like you said, you see the nonsense on social media, idiots, just plain brain dead idiots, or people that have an unrelenting bias towards Man United, putting him in a combined 11. This is a sixth season at Manchester United, 6 years, 6 seasons at the football club. £90 million, meant to be one of the best players in the world. He's not an obvious starter in one of the worst midfields in the country. He hasn't performed really for anything more than 2 or 3 weeks at a time in 6 years. There's talk of giving him a new contract. He consistently gives goals away. He consistently gives the ball away. He consistently is the talk of, always on the wrong end of headlines. And I do think there's an agenda against him in some respects. I do think perhaps there's occasions where he's unfairly treated. But on the whole, it comes back to Roy Keane element. My eyes do not lie to me. What you see from Paul Pogba weekly is average performances, and quite often the reason for conceded goal. Lackluster, poor, lack of attitude. You talk about the goals, talk about assists. Where's that? We're talking numbers. At least Bruno Fernandes gets goals. He sets up goals. He makes things happen. Paul Pogba really has been a myth for 6 years. And the best thing United could do is cut ties with him, talk of giving a new contract, creates a problem for the club for the next 5 years that they can't, he's one of the biggest problems at the club, not him as a person, the player Paul Pogba, where they fit in him. Get rid of him. Liverpool wouldn't take him, Man City wouldn't take him, Chelsea wouldn't take him. Get rid of him.
So I take it your team Henderson, like me then?
Yes, he's everything you want. He's a manager's dream, and he's not even. You look at him as the footballer. Is he in Liverpool's best 11 on football ability alone? Probably not. But he's first name on the team sheet. He's captain for a reason. I think he's still the most obvious captain for England, especially on Kane's current form. And he's just, must be a manager's dream. What a player he is.
Jordan Henderson is an absolutely supreme footballer, and I won't have anybody tell me any different. And when people are knocking me for telling you right now that I picked Jordan Henderson over Paul Pogba consistently, Jordan Henderson 7 out of 10 every single game. Every single game, never lets you down. Can you remember last time he had a bad game? No, you can't, because he doesn't. He never plays badly. Plays well all the time. When you're comparing them like for like, there's going to be a load of people on Twitter that are going to come back to me 3 months from now when Paul Pogba does something special, because he can, because he's got a lot of ability, and they're going to say, can Jordan Henderson do this? Well, no, you're right, he can't do this. But then it comes back to can he do that 7 out of 10 every week? No, he can't. So ultimately, come back to me in 3 months' time and tell me I'm wrong. I'll argue with you for as long as you like, because quite simply, I think anybody that watches football regularly would pick Jordan Henderson over Paul Pogba, and that is the end of that debate. Listen, I want to bring it on to Liverpool's team selection yesterday. Before the match, obviously you've got Sadio Mane, he's in form at the moment. You've got Naby Keita, who was dragged off at half-time against Atletico Madrid, and you've got Konate being thrown in. How did you feel from a Man United perspective actually seeing that team sheet?
My honest opinion was I thought we'd lose 4-1. So to sit here and say that I thought Liverpool were there for the taking would be a lie. But I did see the team sheet and I thought, if there was ever an opportunity to finally start playing some good football and look like a team, it was in that moment, at Old Trafford, full house, against what seemed not, but it wasn't a makeshift. There was a couple of players that you not seeing Fabinho made me happy, not seeing Mane made me happy, seeing Milner in there, I thought, not that he ever lets Liverpool down, so I don't know why I would think this. I thought, there's an opportunity there to exploit that.
You thought that McTominay and Fred could do Milner on legs, and you were wrong. That's all it is.
I thought if hand on heart, I said 4-1 Liverpool. I'm not saying I thought Man would win, but looking at it, I was trying to be rational. I was looking at thinking, well, in those games, Fred and McTominay, normally they're the games that they are good when they run around, when they can make it difficult for a team. But obviously naive to say that they would outrun a 35 or 36-year-old James Milner because he made him look average for the 20 minutes he was on the pitch.
Still Liverpool's fittest player. And it's interesting because obviously Bruno Konate in, like you said, second Premier League start. And there was a question mark there. How's he going to handle playing in front of 77,000? Is he going to shrink? Turns out Harry Maguire was the one that shrunk on the day. And Joel Matip has probably been Liverpool's pick of the defenders this season. And they left him out. And, all of these little things for Klopp paid off. And what a masterstroke it was, having got the 5-0 win. He's rested players as well, to come out of that, having rested players. How seriously do Liverpool now have to be taken when it comes to a title?
Well, they're still unbeaten in the league. I think they're the only unbeaten side. They look the real deal. Like I said yesterday, let's be honest, they were in second gear and they beat Man United 5-0 at Old Trafford. They won 2 games back-to-back 5-0. They beat Atletico Madrid away midweek, playing it sort of 60-70%. They're clearly a serious side. I do, at the start of the season, I thought their squad would be an issue, but it seemed like a smallish squad might be okay. But again, it comes back to injuries. If they can keep that 11 fit, they are joint favourites in my eyes. But that's what it comes down to. They're 3 players, a couple of injuries, and I do think it becomes difficult, especially Mo. See, as good as Liverpool are, I can't help but feel like they can't win the league. And I'm going to tell you in a nutshell why. It's the African Cup of Nations. I think when Mo Salah goes, and Mane, of course, and Matip, and Keita, but generally I think it's Mo Salah. When Mo Salah goes, even if it's only for 3 games, I think when you've got a player that's that good, you see it with Messi at Barcelona, you see it with Ronaldo at Real Madrid. When you've got a player that's that good, it doesn't matter if everybody else is brilliant as well. You do become reliant on them over time. And Mo Salah is, as I said, right now on current form, probably the best player in the world. He's prolific, he's relentless. And quite frankly, Jota's a good player, but bringing in your likes of Origi or Minamino, it is quite a difference. I think that might be over that 2 or 3 game period, 6 game period, however many games they do miss, depending on how their nations get on, might be the difference for Liverpool winning the league this season. But I think that's the only thing that can stop them, to be honest. Yeah, I think you're right. The only saving grace is I'll come back to what I said about everyone knowing their job and it being like a well-oiled machine. I think you can bring Minamino in for the odd game, Origi in for the odd game, and because of the relentlessness of everyone else, I think they galvanise that spirit, that energy, that tenacity and everything else. And Origi probably come in and score a few goals. But you're right, if it's a sustained period, or they were playing a Manchester City type, you would worry. Contract situation not sorted yet. They've got to make him the highest paid player in Liverpool's history, haven't they? Because if not, someone else will. Real Madrid will. Barcelona will in maybe 18 months' time when they sort their money out. PSG most certainly will if Mbappe leaves. They've got to do something, haven't they?
And considering the fact that he's quite publicly issued a come and get me plea, I think you just have to. You have no choice now. And I don't think anybody, including your likes of Virgil van Dijk, would begrudge him a pay rise. I don't know about you. Mo got 3 at the weekend. Liverpool got 5. And it was probably the greatest game Liverpool have ever had at Old Trafford. And it was just a joy for me to watch. And I'm sure you enjoyed it too, mate. Drinking up Harry's tears. And I'm going to have a great weekend. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.